Hello, my name's Richard Moore. I'm with Lionel, Birnie.
Hello, Richard.
And Daniel Friebe.
Hello, chaps.
Happy New Year, guys.
Wonderful, isn't it? 2017, it's off to a flyer. The World Tour season already underway.
Where are we, Lionel?
Well, we're at the National Theatre, our home venue in very sunny London, and you're in our Berlin studio.
Where Richard has asked me to attend an indoor cycling event this week, which I'm not particularly thrilled about.
Let's crack on with Lionel's fake news roundup.
Fake news roundup. OK, well, most of this is true.
I'm still dealing with Brexit, you know, all of the upheaval that's come about because of that.
Haven't you heard it's going to be fine?
Earlier on today, I looked across at Lionel. When he arrived, he looked very exasperated, having been reading all about Brexit.
Lionel always looks exasperated.
He does, yeah, but I thought he was still reading about Brexit, but actually he was just trying to work out the new World Tour system. It was having exactly the same effect on him. Anyway, we'll get on to that. Let's talk about cycling again. Lionel, what are you looking forward to this year as the road extends before us?
Well, you know me, in my Eeyore-ish way, there's not a lot I look forward to, is there, Richard? apart from three square meals a day and the prospect of the sun shining. I don't like to look too far ahead. I don't like speculation. There's no point considering what the Giro and the Vuelta and the Tour might bring, but I will allow myself to look as far ahead as the Cobble Classics, because Fabian Cancellara is retired. Tom Boonen is in his, it's a final hurrah perhaps for him this spring.
Daniel, what are you looking forward to?
There are a lot of teams with a new look about them this year and some new teams. It'll be interesting to see how they mesh together. Trek Segafredo will be an interesting one. We spoke a lot last year about Alberto Contador, his entourage, how difficult it can be to integrate that into another system.
What about you, Rich?
Lachlan Morton, he's carved a very unusual sort of path for himself, and he's back at World Tour level with Dimension Data, and probably the best team for him. If you look how a rider like Steve Cummings has thrived there, I'm sure they've got similar ideas with Lachlan Morton to not expect him to be a sort of a climbing domestique or anything like that. Really let him do his own thing. That's the only way you're going to get the best out of him. Very interesting how he gets on. He's obviously hugely talented.
2017 un corridore austriaco che difende i colori di Bora Hansgrohe, Lukas Postelberger.
Lionel.
Hang on a sec. Sorry.
Lionel.
I'm busy, Rick. I'm busy.
Come on. Oh my God, his nose in that album all day.
I've got my Panini sticker album from the Giro, and I have not faked this because it's impossible to know what stickers are in the envelopes. First packet, first rider, Lukas Postelberger.
No, that's unbelievable.
Absolutely.
I actually saw him sneak a little peek and look like the cat that got the cream. And there is stage winner.
Who said you weren't a lucky man? Like
Lukas Postelberger, the winner, the surprise winner. Well, I say surprise. I mean, you might remember, chaps, I tipped him in the car as we were driving over to the finish in Albio today.
I don't remember that.
Guy we were discussing earlier. Nobody else talking about Postelberger.
We talked about that last kilometre. We said this is perfect for Postel. This has got Postelberger written all over it.
Yeah.
Okay, Lionel, we've done cycling. Now food. This really is your territory. Specialities.
Sicily is famous for caponata, which is an aubergine starter, arancini, which are the rice balls, and granita, which is a sort of ice cream that you have for breakfast. Breakfast for ice cream, can't go wrong.
Breakfast for ice cream for breakfast. Anyway, I got what you meant.
How many ice cream rules am I breaking here, Daniel, with my lemon and strawberry double cone?
Not sure, but they don't do lemon and strawberry together. They're a bit sharp, aren't they? Both a bit sharp. You need something to take away some of the acidity of the lemon, I would have said. Rules on Italian ice cream, there are a few, but do you know what? There are more rules that apply to the people serving the ice cream. If you would ask for lemon and strawberry, and she'd put strawberry on the cone first, and then lemon, that would be frowned upon in the Italian gelato community. Yeah, very, very strict about that.
So it's a bit like the double then. Got to win the strawberry before you win the lemon.
Very much so, Lionel, very much so.
Listeners, fortunately, nothing has changed in my mind and in cycling. As usual, my priority is not this cycling race, but certainly other stuff. We are very lucky because this edition of the Giro is really historical. Why? Maybe because it's the 100th edition. Yes, but this is not the most important topic. The most important topic, Sardinia and Sicily together in the same edition. So a lot of sand, a lot of beaches, and a lot of beautiful photos. And today in Gazzetta we published a marvelous picture of my soul sister Pippo Pozzato, that certainly in the last day he went to the beach. I must confess, dear listeners, when I can in the Giro, I go to the beach every day.
If you're listening to this at home and playing Giro bingo, I think you've got full house.
A full house.
Where are we, Lionel?
Well, I want to say Blockhouse, but I know from the look on your face that it's wrong to say that.
No, I'm quite happy with that.
Stage 9 of the Giro from Montenero di Bisaccia to Blockhouse. It was 149 kilometres, and after 8 days of fairly sedate racing, we really wanted some drama, but perhaps we got the wrong sort of drama.
And look, I'm not really happy with Movistar. I think when you look, 4 GC riders on the deck, they did not have to push the pace then. It wasn't 3 kilometres to go, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing. Everyone knew, Landa was on the deck, Thomas was on the deck, Adam was on the deck. There was no need to turn the screws at that stage. It was 15, 16 kilometres from the finish, and for me, it's pretty poor sportsmanship.
Hugely impressed with the pace at which you did your Tele. You're like Method Man, you're like Red Man, or you're one of the great rappers from the golden age of gangster rap in the 90s.
I'll take that.
Don't know what you think of my driving. Give it a mark out of 10.
Well, you're a hesitator, aren't you? You love a hesitation. You're one of them people who come to you like a roundabout standoff a bit, don't you?
Based on very little evidence, this Mark. This is just a.
I reckon you go on a roundabout and wait for the next person to go, whoever it is. Like, you're never the one to commit.
You and Lionel spoke about little else than food. We're going to turn our attention to what happens to the food once it's passed through the body today. I think this is going to be a scatological episode. Daniel is cringing. He doesn't like talking about this subject. He gets very squeamish.
Disgusting. Refuse to talk about it, usually.
Because it's all about Tom Dumoulin and what happened to him today. For a lot of people, the Giro started today. The day's big talking point. Tom Dumoulin peeled off his shorts and answered a call of nature. The TV camera panned hastily away, and up front in the chasing group, with Landa still up front on his own now, Ilna Zakarin was riding quite hard, it looked like then. There was a sort of truce, as if riders didn't really know what to do.
We've had a few complaints over the last few days. We've talked about cycling too much. I warned you about this a few days ago.
Well, we've also talked about whether or not peacocks can fly, and thanks to the many of you who've sent us messages, including my dad, confirming that peacocks can indeed fly.
And he's just ridden past. Did you see him?
Who, my dad?
No. The peacock. The peacock just rode by, no doubt on his way for another TV appearance, maybe the last one of the Giro.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't count on it, Daniel. He actually finished about an hour ago, but he's still going around here looking for people to talk to. We're just trying to not catch his eye. So Dumoulin, not just the first Dutch Grand Tour winner since 1980, but the first ever Dutch winner of the Giro d'Italia.
Yeah, quite amazing when you consider the history that Holland has had in the sport. I think it'll be the first of a few Grand Tours for him, maybe the first of many. But I think the problem, we talked about it yesterday with Thibaut Pinot, when someone's won the Giro, like Tom Dumoulin, it's kind of difficult to convince them, I think, to forsake the Giro in future years and focus everything on the Tour. I'm sure he will do that, but he might do it reluctantly next year.
I think that's about it, Daniel.
Thank you, Richard.
Time to say arrivederci.
Alla prossima. Till next time.
Oh, and we almost forgot, thanks to Lionel Birnie. Cheers, Napalm. Where are we, Lionel?
We're in drizzly Dusseldorf.
Nice bit of alliteration to start our coverage of the 27 Tour de France.
I don't want to be downbeat, but it is damp.
Yeah, well, that was Lionel Birnie. I'm Richard Moore, and we're joined at this year's Tour de France, delighted to say, by Francois Thomazeau.
Hi guys, in drizzly Düsseldorf as well, yeah, with a cap on my head, unlike you guys, well, probably more used to rain than I am.
Well, I didn't think you could look any more Gallic, Francois, but you've managed it today.
Just wanted to come here and give it everything and get out there and try and pace it well and go as fast as I could, and yeah, I couldn't have gone any better. I did a decent TT in the Giro and after the crash and everything, so I knew I could do a decent day. It was just about pacing it and getting it all out, and yeah, I think I nailed that. I grew up as a kid watching the Tour, and to be the other side of that camera, putting on the jersey is amazing.
It's chaotic down here on the finish line in Vittel. as it always is, particularly when there's been a crash in the closing kilometre, and there were 2 crashes today. The first one on a tricky left-hand bend which took down a lot of riders, and then the second one which happened just before the line really, a really hard impact for Mark Cavendish. He came off worse in that one, and I've just seen him go past several minutes after the bunch hit the line, and his hand is already bandaged up and strapped in netting, and the blood seeping through the bandages. He was holding his right hand not on the handlebars, he was holding it, which may indicate, he's damaged his shoulder or collarbone, but certainly his hand is in a bad way, and he looked very uncomfortable, as you'd expect.
So he decided to disqualify Peter Sagan from Tour de France 2017, as he endangered some of his colleagues seriously in the final meters of a sprint which happened in Vittel.
It is a difficult one, and they both went for the same gap. I don't think anything was intentional. Looking at it again and again, I think the disqualification was actually quite harsh. So I also think the move by Demar on Birnie was also quite extreme. There's photos of him on the barrier, and then he finished inside the 100 metres. He was straight away over to the other side of the road, so that was also quite a dangerous move. But I'm really sorry for Cav that he's obviously another damaged shoulder again. It's sad to see him leave. It's also sad to see Sagan leave, because I don't think it was intentional. I think also different videos and different pictures can make it look like a different thing. So to be honest, there's been a few complaints about Sagan in the past. Also, you got to look at Velvergem. So he's not got a reputation, but I think the best way to nip that in the bud is maybe do something like this sometimes,
This is the first ever edition of the Cycling Podcast water feature. If it goes well, this could be a daily thing, guys. Come on.
Okay. Good radio? I'm not sure.
Well, we'll find out. We'll find out later, won't we? So, glass number 1, please. We're going to have to hurry you along here, Francois. You haven't got time to swill it round or sniff it. You've just got to taste. Take a big gulp there of glass number 1. Is that Contrex? No, shaking his head. Okay, glass number 2. God, he's doing this with the verve of a seasoned wine taster.
Okay.
Glass number 3.
That's Contrex.
Oh, he's gone straight for it in glass number 4.
Right, that's Vittel. Evian, Volvic, Contrex.
Absolutely, that's 100%. Extraordinary.
100%.
I was so looking forward to that being
amazing.
wrong.
Where are we, Orla?
We're atop Le Col d'Izoard in the Alps on a beautiful sunny morning.
Anyway, that's Orla Chenouille. I'm Richard Moore, and we are joined this month for the Cycling Podcast Femina by a very special guest, Lionel Birnie.
Oh dear. Hello. Hello.
Lionel.
You can tell I'm outside my comfort zone already, and not just because we're at 2,300 metres and I've been eating my way around France and have put on a bit of timber.
Here we are for the La Course, the first time La Course has happened outside of Paris and on the Champs-Elysees. We should also mention that a few more of our media colleagues have joined us up here, Orla. A lot of them are missing the start of the men's race in order to be here.
Yeah, and that's really encouraging, because that's one thing that we've been watching out for. We thought we might have been maybe flying a lone flag for women's racing up here, and it's not the case at all. Quite a few camera crews, print journalists.
Well, I even saw television's Daniel Friebe.
Yeah, television and the Cycling Podcast's Daniel Friebe is here, and he looked quite happy to be up here watching the race as well.
It's all relative, isn't it? I mean... Well, how did we get on with our predictions, folks? Annemiek van Vleuten was the winner. I'm sure one of us said Annemiek van Vleuten.
Boom! That was my prediction. Thank you very much. Yes, it was among about 8 other predictions, but that was the one I really, really meant.
But woman of the race, Lizzie Deignan.
I made a mistake in not having the confidence, because I was really good today and I messed up by being a domestique and then the leader. I did too much work really, but that's my own fault for not having confidence in myself. And Megan put her hand up and said she could be leader, so that's what we went with. And that's cycling.
How did it feel out there today? The crowds looked good. There was a lot of speculation as to how the stage would go compared to Paris. How did it feel riding it?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, I mean, a special experience to be able to ride through crowds like that. It would be great if we could do it more often, but I think we have the classics and the World Championships that are similar in terms of crowd and exposure. Yeah, a positive experience for sure. Difficult but positive.
Where are we, Lionel?
I don't know. Francois, where are we?
We're in Sormiou.
The answer I was looking for from you, Lionel, was not Paris.
Oh, yes.
In the interest of full transparency, we are not in Paris. We are not going to Paris.
I know you can buy this all over Marseille, and it's not perhaps the most original of gifts, but you can hear the clanking. Francois, we've got you a bottle of Ricard pastis to enjoy over the rest of the summer.
No, it's been an absolute pleasure to travel and work with you. You've been a very good addition to the cycling podcast team. Let's do it again.
Well, who knows? Merci beaucoup. I mean, yeah, I really didn't believe I could survive 3 weeks in France with a Scot and an Irishman, sort of.
We're recording.
Where are we, Lionel?
We're in not Spain. We're in Nîmes, the most Spanish of all French towns, I would say.
Well, it is today.
It certainly is today, because the Vuelta a España has kicked off here with a team time trial, which went through the Roman amphitheatre here, which has hosted the gladiatorial battles way back before even we were podcasting.
Wow.
Predates even that. They've also had bullfighting there, I think, so there's a bit of a Spanish flavour. Tonight, the town is really on fete, isn't it? And we're at a tapas bar.
And we're joined by our special Vuelta guest, Fran Reyes.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, my friends.
Fran's made a terrible error already by losing his voice in the week leading up to the Vuelta.
But don't blame me, blame the air conditioning.
I like it because, one, I think it's always been the race where my form peaked in August, and it's the perfect race to suit my condition.
Well, year by year we try to do something new.
On the mountains they are screaming until the last guy.
Also the hotels are very good. The best hotels of the 3 Grand Tours.
It's just more relaxed. It's beautiful weather always.
I like the food. I know perfectly what I have to order, in which area, which is the typical food, the wine.
Fit me when I'm 64.
Hello, my name's Richard Moore. I'm with Lionel Birnie.
Hello, Richard.
And Fran Reyes, who just broke into song there just as I hit record on the recorder. Remarkable.
Hello, Rich. Hello, Lionel. Hello, listeners. I have finally recovered my voice and I am prone to sing as much as I can.
A little bit of Beatles there. Wonderful.
Lachlan, we're in the Dimension Data bus at the start of the time trial here in the Vuelta. You've got a bit more space in here this final week of the race.
I think bike riders generally are so worried about themselves. They just see the positive. They're like, oh sweet, you must have so much room on the bus. You must have so much attention. But really, it's like I'd much rather if there was less space on the bus and we still had 9 guys. But that's been the biggest goal of mine, is to make sure I get to the finish of this thing. If the legs are good and you can be in the race, then it's exciting to have those opportunities. But I've also learned that when you're suffering, every one of those climbs can be your worst enemies. I don't know, I take it each day, and that's pretty much all you can do.
I definitely remember there were some cookies in the Liège broom wagon, and we were all just crushing the cookies and everything else we could find.
It's like going off to jail. I mean, I don't think they do this with jail anymore, but like in the olden days where you imagine a bunch of guys going to jail in the back of a bus.
Everything's gonna be alright. Everything's gonna be alright, yeah.
Thanks for that, Fran.
Our colleagues are starting to walk up. Who knows what this podcast will be like now? I mean, my morale may well not be in a very good shape when we reach the top. I'm not feeling my fittest, I have to say. It's been a long Grand Tour season. I hadn't banked on walking up the Angliru today. I hadn't planned that. But these are the circumstances we've been dealt. I suppose we'd better get on with it.
Nobody said this was going to be easy, Lionel. So let's go.
I walked about 1.5 kilometres, left Fran Reyes behind. He was dawdling a bit, I have to say. He's been very complacent about it, I think. I thought, I'm going to start marching on, at least get the first couple of kilometres done. But I've managed to blag my way into the back of the van. So I'm hidden from view. I've just passed Matt Dickinson, Tom Carey, who write for the Times and the Telegraph. So I'll delight in telling them that I managed to get a lift to the top a bit later on. Arguably, I could do with the exercise more than those guys. They're pretty fit at the moment. But I thought I saw an opportunity to get into the back of the van, and I took it. Fran will just have to make his own way to the top. If he has to walk all the way, I'm sure he's up to it. Young man, he's got a good, probably 12 or 13 years on me. But I'm afraid I did a Warren Barguil. I looked back, I pretended I couldn't see him. # no waiting. I'm bailing out and going home, but you're going off to Madrid, aren't you?
Great, so nice of you to abandon me, yeah. So you didn't complete the Grand Tour after all, you didn't complete the Vuelta.
Well, I'd already missed a few stages in the middle, hadn't I? But no, I'm being sent home for not waiting for you on the climb earlier on today.
What are you recording? For the cycling podcast. Oh, cool. Anyways, we're here.
Oh, yeah, I heard you were doing a rider diary.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Hey there, cycling podcast listeners. This is Alexis Ryan with Canyon SRAM Racing. I'll be giving you a fly-on-the-wall perspective as I compete in the Women's Amgen Tour of California. It's really cold and my hand is numb, and I've only had it out of my glove for about 30 seconds. So, it's gonna be an interesting day. It's windy, probably blowing at 20 miles an hour. We've got a 67-mile stage, 2 major mountain climbs, uphill finish. Big day out there, even bigger day for all of us non-climbers. So I'll check in with you guys after the stage and let you know how many deaths I've had in one day.
You know, if you can survive such a stage, then in some way you win nothing, but you still happy with yourself because you achieve something that day. And in normal life, you doesn't have this up and downs anymore. Now you don't realize this because you think, oh, I have the toughest job in the world. I must go for bicycle legs, but trust me, to sit 8 hours in the office is also shit.
Hannah and I were on the front in Aero Chucks, just ripping it. And Hannah looked at me when we were close to the bottom and she was like, I'm having so much fun. And I thought to myself, that's what bike racing's about. You just have these moments where you're like, hell yeah, this is awesome.
I actually have no memory of the accident. I remember the morning of the day. I do remember waking up and I remember going out on my bike, so I knew where I was going that ride, but I didn't even know where I'd crashed within that. And yeah, I actually don't really remember the next 2 days really. I remember waking up and then there was someone with me. Then the next thing I remember, my dad was there, but he didn't actually arrive for 2 days. I broke my neck, 5 vertebrae, 4 ribs, my sternum and my shoulder, and punctured my lung and tore an organ, I think my kidney, so fairly extensive.
We've been watching the World Championships, haven't we, this past week? We've been glued to our televisions.
It was a beautiful event to watch. I watched all 6.5 hours of it on Sunday, which did make the loss of the television pictures right at the end quite frustrating, but
just a little bit.
A little bit frustrating. That's bike racing, isn't it? And that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But let's just recap what happened over the course of the week. Of course, the big story was that Peter Sagan of Slovakia won the World Road Race title for the 3rd year in a row. He's the first rider to win 3 road race rainbow jerseys in a row.
All the camera crews were in one great big clump waiting for these 2 riders to come in. Then there was going to be a 10-minute gap until the peloton came in with Armstrong and everyone else. So anyway, this guy, Jakob Piel, won this 2-up sprint and came hurtling over the finish line and stopped right in front of me. I mean, literally right in front of me. At that point, right, the entire swarm of media just came like that and just like bunched around me. And because Jakob Piel and fate had chosen me, everybody, and there was no Danish broadcaster there who we would have otherwise deferred to, the entire media circus of the Tour de France, on my first Tour de France, deferred to me to ask Jakob Piel the question, right? And I felt enormous pressure, and I could hear in my ear our director, because he could see from the finish line camera from French television what was happening, and they were just killing themselves at the track, waiting for my, go on, what are you going to ask him then? And he took his helmet off and he looked me in the eye, and everyone looked at me, and I just went, Jakob, you won!
You know, I was riding 240 miles a day for 78 days and 14 hours. In terms of, it was no longer wildman style. It was purely, an athletic endeavour. It was absolutely 100% on performance. And, this was my Everest. This was the culmination of everything I've done as an endurance bike rider. In terms of how I was at the finish, I was absolutely exhausted. I pushed myself harder than I've ever pushed myself. It's very hard to put into words where I went mentally and physically on that journey. But I think I've recovered remarkably quickly, and that's credit to, the performance team around me.
You realize with colon cancer back in 2004 you would have 47% to survive, and that was not a big number. So you go in 2 weeks thinking about this. In a few years, maybe 1 year, there's a bigger chance you're dead than alive, and that's make you think about life. And was tough, was really tough. I mean, that make the hardest race I've done in my life make like a holiday, I was nothing, because I just became daddy, like my son was 8 months, so I felt so guilty, I feel so guilty, I have to die from my son, so it was very, very hard period. I did some note. Best thing I did, number one on the list, was like going to the Royal Garden with my son, feeding the birds. And it's really nothing, but when you read that list 5 years after, it's funny, because you realize the best thing in life costs no money, not a bloody dime, so everything you love in life costs nothing, so you have to enjoy it.
If the UCI does ban Froome and he decides that he does want to go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, there I think again he's in a bit of an invidious position, because Court of Arbitration for Sport uses it bases a lot of its decisions on precedents, and there's one very, very clear precedent that they've got with Pataki. And again, looking through his case, it doesn't make particularly comfortable reading for Froome, I wouldn't suggest.
All of which makes it so surprising that Froome has appeared, at least from the outside, to have been able to go about his business with a relaxed mind, and only last week or 2 weeks ago he confirmed that he was going to the Giro d'Italia next year in a video, and he certainly, it seems to have been business as usual, and he's training Mallorca at the moment and planning for next year, as though he appeared quite unperturbed by it and unconcerned that there would be a punishment and a ban. That strikes a lot of people as odd.
Well, that's all from us for 2017. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage this year. We'll be taking a short break at the start of January, but weekly episodes of the Cycling Podcast will return just in time for the Tour Down Under, the first World Tour event of the new season. The Cycling Podcast Féminin will also resume, and we'll have more episodes of Brevet, our new podcast looking at the world of endurance cycling, plus a couple of episodes of the Cyclocross podcast, which will come from the World Championships in early February. In 2018, we'll again cover all 3 Grand Tours from start to finish, and there may be 1 or 2 surprises along the way too. If you're going to miss us in the next couple of weeks, and if you haven't done so already, sign up as a friend of the podcast for 2018. There's already 3 episodes to listen to, including Lunch with Matt White, which really is unmissable. It costs £15 for the year, and we'll be releasing special episodes exclusively for you friends of the podcast throughout the year. All that leaves is for us to thank all of our listeners, especially our friends of the podcast, and our sponsors Rapha and Science in Sport, and everyone else who's backed us along the way, everyone who's contributed to the coverage in the past 12 months, and of course our brilliant production team. So have a very happy new year, and join us in 2018 as we discover what the new season has in store.